Hey everybody, how are you? Today I'm just getting started here, but I'm sorry I'm a little bit later than what I said I was going to be. Just making sure we're all on here live. How are you today? If you're just joining me, I'm Sharon from I Restore Stuff and you are right here on my Facebook page. Thanks for joining me. If you're new to my page or if you have followed me from over on the Essential Stencil page, because you watch the lives over there, I'm one of their ambassadors. And this week on Essential Stencil, they are doing a thrift store challenge. And so I've had some fun with that this week. If you're just joining me, let me know where you're tuning in from. It is super hot here in Australia. I'm in Queensland and the sun is really hot. My workshop is not air conditioned, so I'm glistening. Anyway, if you guys saw my Instagram stories or my Facebook stories, which are the same thing on both, if you don't know how to do Facebook stories or watch Facebook stories, you just go to my little profile picture here on my Facebook page. It usually, I think, has a blue ring around it, and you can tap that profile picture if you're on the phone, and it will come up with some stories, which are little just behind the scenes glimpses of things that I get up to here behind the scenes. And this week, earlier in the week, a couple of days ago, I took to the op shops, which we call them here in Australia. If you're from the US or Canada, you might call them thrift stores. I don't know, do you call them something else? Are you from the UK and you have another name for them or something? I'm not sure. We call them op shops here, and I think it comes from the word opportunity shop, and usually based on charity, you call them charity stores as well. So this week on Essential Stencil, they're having a thrift store challenge, or op shop challenge if you're in Australia, charity store. So we're going to have some fun with that. And I've got a little haul here I'm going to show you. And what the deal is you need to take something from a thrift store, use some of Essential Stencil's stencils, and stencil on those projects. I'm just seeing if I can see comments. I can't see them on my page, so just give me a wave, tell me where you're from. I can see Paula, I can see it says that people are watching, but I'm not seeing comments yet. So if you could just send me a heart or give me comments, that'd be great to let me know. If you're watching me for the very first time here on my page, let me know that too. I can see that people are watching. So thank you, Paula, for the heart. Yes, okay, hi from Wisconsin, says Lisa. That's awesome. So this week, if you've just joined me, we're doing a thrift store challenge over at Essential Stencil on their page. And so what you do is you do up something, recycle, upcycle. It's all about repurposing. Hi, Katrina. Thank you for watching. And using their stencils. And so it's a bit of a challenge sometimes to find some things that you can first of all paint at a thrift store and find things that have a surface that you can stencil on. So I did some Instagram stories. I took you through a few of our op shops over here in Queensland on Monday in my stories. I think I've made them a highlight actually in Instagram. So if you go to my Instagram page, it's just at I Restore Stuff. You click on the stories. If you can't find them there because it was a couple of days ago and the stories disappear, I've made a little highlight that says thrift store or something like that. Click on those and you can watch me wandering through the thrift stores and finding some things. So let's get started. One of the things that I found was this box, and it had numbers on it. Let me show you the numbers. So it had these cool looking, brightly coloured numbers. As you can see, there was number 1. And there we go, we're kind of backwards. And then the number 2 was blue, and then we have a 3 and a 4 in red and green. So we have these bright primary colours here that were all the numbers on the sides. And I was really hoping that I could get them. Oh, thank you, Linda, for sharing. That's amazing. Thanks for sharing. If you know anyone who likes thrift store challenges or who likes getting things from op shops and upcycling, repurposing, please sprinkle the love, press the little SHARE button. So this one came with all these numbers on it. They are just MDF. So what I did was, if you see my stories, I did this earlier in the week. I got a scraper and just kind of tucked it in behind there, whacked the top with a hammer until it was, because you didn't want to split the wood or anything like that. So I did remove those, and what I've done this morning is just prepped the surface a little bit by sanding back, because it was all glued on. It was like a hot glue gun. It was a bit of a mess. So I sanded the surface, so that's now really smooth and ready to paint on. So I probably wouldn't stain this one. I'd actually have to, if I want to cover the faded part where the numbers, so that's just faded there now. So hi Melanie, great to see you watching, thank you so much. Yeah, if you want to stain that, it's going to show, those numbers will stain through, which if you like that, that's a cool look too. But what I'll probably be doing is painting this, and I'm thinking of painting this one in one of these fusion colours, maybe Little Whale. It's a gorgeous, pretty pale blue there. So I might do that in that one. Here's something else that I found at the thrift store. This was 50 cents, guys. 50 cents for this little Hessian looking bag, burlap bag, and it's plastic lined, so it's plastic on the inside. And so I'm assuming it could be for a plant pot or something like that. So if you've seen some of the seed bags, things like that, you could stencil grain sack stripes on here. You could stencil some little numbers or letters that might look like, I don't know, it's so many pounds or so many kilograms of weight or things like that. I'm sure you've seen some ideas on Pinterest, but if you haven't, look that up on Pinterest for, I don't know, seed bag ideas. That will be fun. So I might just leave that one plain and then stencil something on that. So you'll have to tune in to Essential Stencils Live this week. Our ambassadors over there are going live each day this week. My day is Wednesday night, 7 p.m. CST, which is also 11 a.m. here Brisbane time on Thursday. So the time zones kind of mess people up, but I just know what time I have to be there, Thursday, 11 a.m. That's on the Essential Stencils page, and you'll see me stenciling some of these projects. All right, the other thing I found at the thrift store, our op shop this week, is an old tissue box, Kleenex box, you might call it. And it just looks really handmade. So it's just this rustic old wood. And I've sanded that back. I don't know if you can tell, but it was that glossy varnish that you can probably still see a little bit of in the creases there. But I'm going to use those little creases to my advantage, and I think what I'm going to do is stain that in Miss Mustard Seeds milk paint today, right here on the live. I'll show you how to mix up some milk paint if you've never used that before. But that's going to be fun, and I'll kind of make this into some kind of farmhousey stencil design on the front. So I'll be doing the stenciling on Essential Stencils page on Wednesday night, Thursday morning for me. But today I want to prep the surface, so I'm going to show you how to use milk paint to create it as a stain to use on that surface here today. The other thing I got from the op shop is this basket. So you'll see some of these, it's seagrass basket, it's got handles on it. It's a good decent size for a toy box or a small laundry basket. And I don't know if you've seen these, but painted halfway around the sides. So I'd love to do something like that and create some kind of stencil for the thrift store challenge over at Essential Stencils. And that'll be fun to do that. So I'm going to do that and paint the bottom half of it using Fusion's colour Champlain. Now, any of the Fusion mineral paint colours, you can get those in Australia right here on my website, irestorestuff.com. Champlain is an off-white, and it's got kind of a taupe tones to it, so little off-white with the brownish undertones. So I'll be doing that on the basket. We'll see what time we've got this morning to do some of these things. The other thing, so we're looking for stenciling ideas at the thrift stores this week to do that thrift store challenge. The other thing I did find, which I don't know if I'll stencil on this because it's a picture frame, but I just loved that it was just, white wash look on the outside. But what you could do is just remove the glass, remove the backing. You could even paint the backing and stencil something on it. Or, thank you Sonia, thank you so much. Or you could stencil a piece on a piece of card or paper and use that in the back. So if you haven't entered their thrift store challenge this week, you can find out all the details about that when you watch me live on Wednesday night if you're in the USA, Thursday morning Australia. Okay, let's get started. I'm going to pop some of these. We'll start with the milk paint staining idea. So all we need for that is the milk paint, which comes in a powdered form. If you've never used milk paint before, it's a fun product to use. I'm using Miss Mustard Seeds milk paint, and this is the colour Typewriter, which is their kind of a charcoaly black, if you can imagine the old Underwood vintage typewriters. That's that colour. I was thinking about doing a chocolate brown stain, but I thought that I'd use a black, and then I haven't decided whether I'm going to do sort of like a resist layer and then some white over the top, all sorts of fun ideas that you can do with milk paint. And if you want to know more about milk paint, I have loads of tutorials, video tutorials over on my YouTube channel, which is again, I restore stuff all over the internet. Just look for that on any of your social media platforms and you'll find my info about milk paint and fusion paint and all the things that I do, and furniture painting. Linda says, I had a great day at my Goodwill today, found some great finds. Linda, are you taking part in the thrift store challenge this week? Such a great idea. All right, I'm going to point the camera down here. I'm by myself today working on this. So the milk paint comes in powdered form, as you see. Hey Fiona, good to see you. And so I'm going to be doing the milk paint using a tablespoon. So all it is, usually for paint, is equal parts water to powder, but today I'm creating a stain with the milk paint. So I'm going to use, I don't even need very much at all, but I'm going to use 1 part powder to 3 parts water, because I'm just using this tiny weeny surface to stain. I'm only going to use like a really tiny bit. And all we do is water it down more. But if you are making it as a paint, a regular paint, which you can do for painting furniture and decor, and I'm just going to estimate this. We use about 3 parts water to 1 part paint. And you can use a whisk to stir this up, or just a stir stick. Hi Tracy, thanks so much for watching today. Guys, I'd love it if you wanted to. You can subscribe to my blog over at irestorestuff.com, and about weekly-ish, although sometimes I get slack, so I promise I don't spam you with emails, but I send out a blog post of some furniture makeovers or some tutorials and tips and things that I've done around the place. And you can also find me on YouTube for lots of different tutorials there. So this is milk paint, if you've just joined me. Miss Mustard Seeds milk paint in the colour typewriter. I should put another cloth down here because this is going to get messy. Just going to grab any brush. I'm just using a Klingon flat 30 brush. You can get those here in Australia at irestorestuff.com on my website. And I'm creating a stain. So now you'll notice that I haven't actually got this back to, raw timber, but I have removed most of the varnish from the surface. So the stain, as a stain, it may not take all the way into the grain there if you wanted to really do this properly. Yes, there are. Sonia's asking, are there different colours of milk paint? Yes, there are lots of different colours. They have about 25 colours, regular colours in their range. Actually, could be more than that in Miss Mustard Seeds milk paint range. Some gorgeous colours. You can look them up at irestorestuff.com and just type in milk paint in the search bar and you'll find all of the colours there. All right, so again, we've just watered this down to create a stain, and I'm just going to rub it across the surface. So we're creating sort of a black colour stain. And I'm just wanting to create, out of this thrift store find, I'm just going to create a sort of a farmhousey vibe. You notice this tissue box. Now I can see that the stain's really taking well to those areas like this line across here where the sander has gotten down deeper into the raw timber. So that's interesting. And of course, if the box was right down to raw, it would be even better. But I didn't have time for that this morning. We're just going to experiment as we go here. And I'm just placing this on as a stain. I've probably got a bit too much on there. You can always wipe back the excess. And those end grains, probably going to take a bit more. Yeah, if you've never used milk paint before, let me know in the comments. It's really fun paint to use. And a lot of people can be just a bit intimidated by the fact that you have to mix it up to make it. I just feel like, I don't know, I feel it's a really great primitive paint. Look at that. I'm just kind of wiping back excess there. I've got some bubbles on the surface, but I like how the stain's taking in down in that groove there, creating a little bit of depth. I'm even going to get these edges here, which are actually raw. I've just placed that down on the wet side, but really, there we go. You can sort of see the difference here. And as it dries, milk paint gets a bit of a chalky feel to it. So if you've just joined me, guys, I'm taking part this week in a thrift store challenge where we're upcycling using essential stencils, finding things from the thrift store or the op shop, wherever you're from, charity stores, that you can stencil on. And then there's a competition over on Essential Stencils website. They are announcing that on their page this week, and you'll be able to see me live on Wednesday night, Thursday morning, Wednesday night USA time at 7 p.m. CST, and that's Thursday morning Brisbane time here at 11 o'clock in Australia. And I'll be actually stenciling on some of these finds, but I thought I'd come on my page today and just give you a rundown on some of the things I'm doing to prep my pieces before I stencil them. So here we go. There we go. So it's stained in Miss Mustard Seeds milk paint, the colour Typewriter. I'm just going to remove some of those bubbles from the surface there. I think we've got all of the surfaces. Just going over now and just making sure there's no dribbles. See, it's kind of streaking down here. You can just wipe that back a bit. And we'll leave that to dry. I can still see some bubbles here. Now that's what happens when you don't remove all of the varnish. You can see the paint is resisting, the varnish is resisting the paint right there. But if you went down to the raw wood, it would actually be a lot better to soak into that grain. But I'm just kind of giving it a rustic, dark finish. So you can see, here we go. There's the milk paint drying. Yeah, Mary says I may have to try some. It's great, Mary. A lot of fun to use. I feel like I'm back in the old days mixing up paint and it's a lot of fun. So I'll let that dry and set that aside while I work on one of my other pieces from the thrift store that I'm going to be stenciling here on Wednesday night, Thursday morning my time. Oh, it's hot here, guys. What's the weather like where you guys are? Excuse me while I grab a bit of water and grab my next piece that I'm going to work on. I think I'll work on this basket here. And I'll have to tip that up slightly there. Yeah, the colour is really, really great. And it's just, all it's done is it's taken away from that yellowy pine look and given it a darker edge. And see, milk paint will dry, kind of porous and chalky looking, similar to chalk paint. But then when you seal it, it goes back to the original, colour when it's wet. If that makes. Oh, Sonia's expecting snow. Oh, I'd love to see some snow right now. I tell you, it is very hot here. Okay, I'm using a fusion mineral paint colour, and this is the colour Champlain. Oops, there we go. I'm kind of flipped the camera so you can see my words and the right way around. 20 degrees in Wisconsin. Paula says maybe snow on Thursday. Oh, that's just making me... So Sharon says 31 degrees and clear sky. Now Sharon, that's 31 degrees Fahrenheit if you're in the USA. That must be cold. But if that was 31 degrees Celsius here in Australia, that's a very hot day. That's probably what it is in Celsius right here, right now. Excuse me. Got a little frog in there. All right, so this is a seagrass basket, and all I'm going to be doing is, what I usually would do is tape that off. Let me see if I can reach my tape. Hold tight there, guys. And got it. So because it's a round basket and it's tapered, this can be a little bit tricky sometimes. Sherry says it's hot and muggy in central Florida. Wow, flooding in central Mississippi. A lot of people having to leave their homes. That's not good. And we're going to be doing the bottom half of this, and I want to make it so that, let's do it halfway. So you've got to make sure that the tape is going to look a little bit crooked on the bottom. So what I'm watching is that one line of rope here. Hopefully that works. But the bottom part is where I need it to be kind of straight. So I'm following that one line around, And the tape will be a little bit wrinkly on the bottom side because the basket is tapered. Tapered. Have you ever painted a basket before? Fusion mineral paint has really good coverage, so this should work pretty well in, oops, my paint. My tape's coming off down the other side. That's not good. Here we go. So hopefully this will work. All right. Oh, no. Of course that's not going to work because the rope goes around and around in a circle. So when it starts down there for one, yeah, I'm going to have to change that. All right, we'll change this one up a bit to meet the other one. There we go. So you've got your tape down. Get a brush. I'm going to be using a Klingon 035. That's just an oval brush, and you can get into these lovely grooves, so that's why they're pretty good for that. This is not great tape. I think it's not the expensive kind. It's probably a cheap tape. All right, just dipping my bristles in. You really don't need a lot of paint. Let me get that in the shot a bit better. That's all I've got on the bottom. I've just dipped my brush in. Can you see that? And I'm going to just wipe off the edges, so I don't want a whole lot. And just moving, remember the tape here, we don't want to get underneath the tape. So I'm just going to move in a downward motion for the bottom part of it. I mean, for the bottom part of the tape is what I'm talking about, so that I'm not getting it underneath the tape. So just moving it in a downward motion there, grabbing a little bit more paint, and just working your brush around and into all the grooves there. So it looks like it's covering really well. Just a little bit of paint at a time, because you don't want those. Depends on the weave in the basket and how tight that weave is. But if you put too much on your brush, sometimes you can get the paint going through to the other side, which isn't great. Okay, so I've got a bit of excess on the end there. Put it down on the basket, then do this top bit so that you haven't got too much on your brush when you're doing that downward motion. Even though you're doing a downward motion, you still just could get some up underneath the tape. As we go around, hopefully that will be dry enough as I'm sitting it on the basket. Otherwise, I can just put it up on its end. So I'm wondering if you've seen some of Essential Stencils, what kind of stencils would you use on this one? Thinking like numbers or letters, say it's a child's little laundry basket for their bedroom or something, or a toy basket. You could put the letter of their first name, some initials, or what else? You could use it for a plant basket. Throw me your ideas, I'd love to hear some. So just going down where the tape is, and then I'm trying to get it across into the weave of the basket. Once again, this is such an easy update to something I just picked up in the thrift store here, op shops here we call them in Australia. So if you've never tried this at home, I'd love to see what ideas you've got for your thrift store challenge. If you haven't already heard about it, Essential Stencil is doing a thrift store challenge with their stencils this week. And all you have to do to enter is, we'll be sharing the links with that on my live this week. What's today, Wednesday? So it's tomorrow, same time, this time tomorrow, but over on Essential Stencils page is where you'll see me live, and I'll be stenciling on these things that I'm preparing today here on my page. Yep, laundry basket, logs for the fire basket. See, I would know nothing about logs for a fire basket because we don't have a fireplace in hot Queensland in my house. But yeah, that's a great idea. Could fit a few logs in here. Just trying to read your comments as I go. Yes, I'm going to stencil. Mary says, are you going to stencil on that basket? Yes, it probably is going to be hard. I have stenciled on placemats that were kind of made out of this similar material. So if I use a large stencil, like large numbers or large letters, I think that's going to give you a clue as to what I'm thinking. Thinking it might stencil easier than sort of fine wording or anything with any intricate details, because with the stencil, there we are, we're right back around near the beginning. And see how quick and easy that was. Now, if you want to let that dry, you can, to just see if you're happy with the coverage on it. So as I've done here, you can sort of see a little bit of a difference where that's dried over here, and you can start to see through a little bit, because as it dries, it gets a little bit more translucent. So we might go over that with another coverage after. I'll do that later on when this is dry. But when I take the tape off there, you'll see tomorrow when I'm going live over on Essential Stencils page, I will take the tape off that and show you that. So that's a basket, simple and easy update, and I'll be stenciling on that, and I'll show you how to do that tomorrow on that live. Is that chalk paint or acrylic paint? This is fusion mineral paint, so it's similar to chalk paint with the matte finish, but it's actually a furniture paint and made to sort of feel like chalk paint, but it has a built-in top coat, sorry. Stephanie says, upside down, you could make it as a lampshade. There you go, absolutely you could. So there's another idea, is I could paint that base there. I probably will do that later. But on with our next project. Let me just grab this box. If you missed this earlier, I did find this thrift store box, which has just got these numbers each side. Now, they did have numbers glued onto them. That was the MDF. It's just like a wood, and it was like hot glue gunned on to the box. So I removed that just with a, what do you call them? A scraper, a metal scraper that I slid down the back of it, and it's kind of wrecked it a little bit, but that's okay. I don't know that I'll be using those numbers again, but I'm just going to paint over this surface, and I'll just show you another colour here. Now, a good tip for if you're going to do a second coat on this, like I will be doing that later, what I usually do is just grab either a piece of plastic or a plastic bag and just pop your brush in the end of the bag so that it keeps it moist, ready to go back later on. Yes, it would be a cute toy box. I think so too. And just to update you, this is what I started before, and I've done Miss Mustard Seed's milk paint in the colour Typewriter just to give this a really rustic feel. I sanded back this pine box that was orangey varnish, and I've given it sort of a black wash look, and you can see that that's still got the wood tones to it. So that'll be fun to see what it's like once it's dried, because it's got that chalky porous look. Once it's completely dried, see, it's almost dry, there's just got a couple of wet patches along here. This is milk paint. And once that's completely dried, and I've finished my stenciling on that tomorrow when I do the live on Essential Stencils page, I'll be coating that and finishing it off with some kind of sealer, like a wipe-on poly or a wax or something like that. So that'll be, I'll do that tomorrow, and you'll be able to see that it'll go back to sort of a nice blackish look. But it's definitely a lot funner, nicer tones to it than the goldy pine varnish, I thought. So, all right, on this box, I've sanded back so that you can't see the hot glue there anymore. And what I'm also going to do now is grab this Stelmeister brush. So I love the Stelmeister brushes just almost as much as I love the Klingon brushes. You can get those from my shop at irestorestuff.com if you're in Australia. So this one I'm going to be painting, and I think it's just a gorgeous, this is one of the Tones for Tots colours from Fusion Mineral Paint called Little Whale. And I'm going to be using that to cover this box. And I just wanted to show you a little bit to show you how we can just update a thrift store or an op shop find and make it into something completely different. Make it something completely new. Actually, this brush is not going to fit into my pot. I'm wanting to use a large brush. So all I'm going to do is decant some of that into one of these little disposable things, plates. It's always a good idea to decant anyway, because then you're not contaminating your pot with dirt or dust. Okay. Super fun idea. Now, I love to paint furniture. That's what I mainly do, but every now and then I love to go to the op shops and grab also decor that you can paint. And if you're local to Brisbane, I have a booth in at the Camp Hill Antique Centre, and you can find all the paints there, plus all of the things that I upcycle. All right, so I'm going to go down to start with, just to go into the grooves of this side piece here that's kind of stuck on the side. Now, let me know, guys, would you paint the inside of this or would you leave the inside wood? Okay, so now I'm going to go across on these sections here. How would you normally tackle a piece like this? There we go, look how great that coverage is. Now, I would normally do a couple of coats on something like this, and I could change to a smaller brush just to get into these grooves here. Sandy says, I found a lot of good deals and she didn't have as much good luck. And the stores seem kind of pricey. You know what? I think that the charity stores are getting a little pricey. Like they sort of know their vintage stuff. So, but every now and then you can find some really good deals. I've got a great blog post that you can go and check out. I'll put the link here in the comments. It's called Top 10 Places to Find Furniture to Restore. And that goes with not just furniture, but all kinds of decor and things. Okay, I can sort of see that one peeking through, which isn't great, but hey, I'm going to be stenciling over this, so maybe I'll use a bigger number one to stencil on it, or something of the sort. Lisa would paint inside also. Yep, people are saying they would paint the inside. I would too, and I think that I'm wondering about a contrasting colour for the inside. Now that's a fun idea. It does get a little tricky when it comes to the edges and just making sure they're lined up. But I love how this is a little whale. It's a beautiful pastel blue. And you can grab that, if you're in Australia, you can get that here on my shop. Otherwise, find your local fusion retailer, fusionmineralpaint.com. There we go. It dries fairly quickly too. So it's a furniture paint, sort of mimics chalk paint. So you can kind of see, can you see that one? You can still see the number just a little bit. Judith says she'd leave it raw, then inside won't scratch the paint. Yeah, that is true too, absolutely. I did a toy box for a customer one time, and it was just so tricky to be able to wait for that paint to just cure and really harden and do all of the prep and all of the things to make sure that's not going to scratch when you have toys and things inside it. If you do paint the inside, maybe it could be a soft toy box for the stuffed animals. So just going over that too here once again to show you, it's got super coverage on that. Who's already got something they've upcycled? I just love the idea of, we have become a little bit of a throwaway society. I just love the idea of being able to recycle and repurpose things that would otherwise just go to landfill. There's so many great and wonderful ideas. Yeah, there's other people who say they'd paint the inside too. And it's another person saying they would leave it plain. There you go. And it would be nice as a contrasting colour too. A nice deep dark grey would also work well. And we've got some beautiful dark greys. I can still, whoops, now I've just stuck my finger. Look guys, new mistake. I've stuck my finger on the end there, just so I could show you a close-up of the camera. Good one. So I'll just have to quickly touch that up, but that's okay. Now this one will be, because it's starting to dry there, you can kind of see the wood underneath. There we go. Just touch that up. And it's, yep, tricky, but I'll need a smaller brush to get in those grooves of the sides. Yeah, you can sort of still see the little two. Stephanie says you could add fabric to the inside in a pretty pattern that matches the paint on the outside. What a great idea, Stephanie. And just when you said that, I also thought of wallpaper. You know, those wallpaper scrap pieces. I've got a few of those, or tissue paper, decoupage of some kind that might match the inside, although that again might tear. But if you seal it well, it could work. See how quick and easy this is to just update a piece of decor or whatever. So guys, just wanted to remind you too that tomorrow, this same time, so it'll be 11, oh actually not this same time, 11 o'clock Brisbane time, which is 7 p.m. CST if you're in the USA. Just look up your time zone. That's tomorrow. And if you're in Brisbane, it's 11 a.m. tomorrow. You'll be able to see me on Essential Stencils page, putting some stencils on these and creating some amazing pieces for their thrift store challenge. And if you want to put enter your own, you can enter up to 10 times on the thrift store challenge. I'll put a link to that here. But it's a lot of fun seeing the things that people have been doing so far. Now you have to use their stencils, of course, because that's the idea of the challenge, is to use essential stencils. Okay, I've just dripped some pieces inside, so it looks like we're going to be painting the inside after all. Lisa says a lot of tables and chairs at the end of auction go real cheap, benches, paint, and sometimes stain them, resell afterwards. Yeah, that's what I was going to tell you before. I have a blog post written on top 10 places to find furniture to restore. So if you go to my website, and there's a little search bar at the top where the menu is. If you're on the phone, just click the menu, it'll bring up the search bar. You can just look up places to find furniture, use those search words, and in my blog I give you my top 10 places to find furniture to restore. Some of those would be your charity stores or thrift stores, but other ones are like garage sales. Where else? Garage sales. Oh, we have recycle centres here, which is our local tip shop or dump shop, where they have a whole recycling section where people can bring in pieces that they think someone else might like. Now I'm just going to move this tissue box down here because I feel like I'm about to splatter paint on that too. Now the other place you can find furniture and pieces to restore is family and friends. Once you start to sort of paint furniture and people get to know that you're painting furniture, you may have some friends and family that you can just let them know, look guys, if you're ever offloading anything, you can try and get rid of something. If you're sending it to the dump, let me know first and I'll see if you'd like to paint it and upcycle it. If you're someone who does this often and you've got your own hobby that you want to turn into a business, it can be fun to sell your pieces at markets or in an antique booth like I do. So another thing that I do is I actually coach. I do some one-on-one coaching, and very soon we'll be starting a membership group for those who are creative painters, furniture painters, card makers, all of those kind of people, giving you great tips for social media and all of that kind of thing. So if you'd like to know more about that, just send me a message and I'll send you a link to get on my waiting list ready for that. That's exciting. Okay, so that's looking great, looking amazing if I do say so. There we are, back to that number 1 there, I think. And so I'll work on that, give it another coat or two, and I really hope to see you. Paula says, I have several pieces of furniture that you could restore at my house. This is my sister-in-law. She's trying to con me into another trip. You don't have to con me, sister. I would love to be there. I would be there in a flat second, you know that. And actually, was it last year we were over in the USA and I painted a couple of Paula's pieces in her house. You can find those on my blog too. Gorgeous pieces. All right, so I'm going to work on that, but right now I'm going to say adios and let you get back to whatever you're doing. I hope you find something at the thrift store this week and get in on Essential Stencil's Thrift Store Challenge. It's going to be loads of fun, and I'll see you over on the Essential Stencil page at almost this time exactly tomorrow. So write that down. It's 11 a.m. here in Brisbane, but it's probably almost 7 p.m. CST where you are in your neck of the woods. So I'd love to see you there. Jump over on my page, on my Instagram stories. Guys, hit the stories or hit my highlight that says thrift store, and you'll be able to see me in the thrift shop, in the op shops here in Brisbane, going around finding some pieces to paint and stencil on. So I'll be stenciling tomorrow, and I can't wait to see you there. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye.